Today is April the 2nd, Tuesday. I detect a quorum. I was kind of scared there for a moment. And the first item on the agenda, we are actually skipping a little bit. So we're going to go to the resolution first. So the first item on the agenda is going to be Resolution RS 2019-1668. That it requests the Tennessee General Assembly to enact legislation observing daylight saving time year-round and further requesting the United States Congress to authorize such observation. I noticed that the sponsor is here, so can I have a motion so that we can get this in front of us? Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. Do we have some conversation about this particular bill, please?
So, when we first took office, I talked about this 3 or 4 years ago and thought that this probably wasn't the right time to do it. And so now I am recommending that the Assembly does take it, but they already have. So Senator Dickerson and Representative Tillis have already proposed this, and it is going swimmingly, so I hear. And then, as a matter of fact, Trump tweeted it last week, and the EU is planning on incorporating it in 2021. So I am no longer ahead of the curve. I'm way behind.
Okay, but you are still putting this in?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure.
All right. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Yes,
Have
please.
you spoken to either the House or the Senate sponsor?
I have. I've spoken to Senator Dickerson, and he says it's going well.
Did they request a resolution?
No.
Okay. So, for those of y'all in the audience, I'm sorry that you get to hear my soapbox that I have given multiple times in here and on the floor, is especially, I think it was last meeting, that we talked in great depth about how the format that we use to send messages to the legislature needs to change. Because when we are speaking to our Davidson County delegation, most of the time they are in agreement with us. I'm not going to put this committee through the same conversation that we've had for 4 years, that we've had in the floor, that we've had in this committee. But I think that I will be speaking to Jameson about filing legislation about this type of legislation and how it could be more effective by talking to our lobbyists, talking to our administration, talking to the endless groups that represent us, like the Tennessee Municipal League, the county officials, so on and so forth, because this really is not the most effective way to do it.
Right. So I'm going to interrupt you a little bit so that we can stay on the particular resolution.
That's fine.
So do I have any more comments on this particular resolution? If I have a renewal of the motion?
Yep. Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded for resolution RS 2019-1668. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? Looks like it has passed. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So now we are going to go back to our confirmations and reappointments. And I'm going to ask you, before you throw stuff at me, please forgive me with the pronunciation of your names. We have for the Fair Commissioners Board reappointment of Mr. Caleb Hamer. For the Hammer. Yes. For the term expiring on April the 6th, 2024. Is he present?
He's the tall guy.
Oh,
over there.
hey.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Caleb, she should
Okay,
know
so
who
that
you
just
are.
shows that I knew your face and didn't know your name.
Well.
I know, right? Okay, so
I know.
I have a
I'm
couple
fine
of,
with that.
I'm sorry, wait a minute. I have a couple of questions for you.
All right.
So are you a resident of Davidson County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are you a voter here in Davidson County? Do you belong on any other boards or commissions for the Metro?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then I'd like to open it up now for some of my committee members if they have some questions or comments for you. Yes, please.
Mr. Hammer, what do you feel you bring to the board?
Thank you, Councilor.
Other than height.
Yeah, other than I feel like I've brought a very good perspective the last 5 years on the board, and as you have talked about a lot in this previous council, and with the fairgrounds and the good work that we're doing out there and the revitalization of that. I want to see it out.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for your service. And this is, I guess, a comment more than a question. I know you know as well as anybody how much there's still an element in the county of distrusting what's going on with the soccer stadium and the redevelopment of the fairgrounds. And in particular, there's a feeling among a lot of people that things get pre-baked between the mayor's office and whomever, and that by the time they get to you all, it's a done deal. And then from the press coverage that we get leverage, the fair board already signed off on it, so you guys should be okay with it too. And I would ask you to continue to be aware that whatever amount of pre-baking, pre-cooking, pre-arranging, pre-lobbying that happens is absolutely invisible to the public and absolutely invisible to us. And we'd really appreciate continuing to make sure that those conversations happen in public. That's happened, I think, more in the last year than maybe in previous years, and I'd encourage more of the same on that.
Yes.
Hi, Mr. Hammer and Director of the Fair Board. I do appreciate bringing the Metro 3 for the meeting because many of us are interested in what's happening at the Fair Board, but because of the time the meeting is held, not so many people can attend. So putting the camera over there is really great help, and I appreciate it. If you would you like to give us a little quick update on the construction project and the negotiation with the State Fair Board is, the current status?
I probably would let our director be more apt to do that, if you wouldn't mind.
I suppose, is that appropriate at this time?
That.
Since the questions are for the...
Yeah, I'm happy to give you my
Traditionally, we have done
perspective.
that.
Okay. All right, then I don't mind that. If you would come up, please, and state your name and then speak to that issue.
Sure. Laura Womack, Director of the Fairgrounds. Well, we're full steam ahead with the expo construction. We have steel up on 2 of our buildings. We have a roof and walls and the canopy constructed. All the pads are constructed. We're starting with utilities out in the sheds. And a lot of earthwork. So we're moving a lot of soil off-site. The rain in February certainly put a damper on getting that soil moved. So we got a little bit behind, but are catching up in the last 2 weeks due to the good weather. So we're full steam ahead. If you haven't come out and seen it, I encourage you to do so because the scale of the buildings, the pictures don't do it justice. So I'd encourage you, if you're interested, certainly come out and I'll be happy to give you a tour.
The board did a tour at our last board meeting, and the thing looked like it was going really well. And told her to drove by the day, and we had people out in the dog park, and it was just like a new day out there. So I think we'll be actually doing a ribbon cutting
Excuse me.
next week or 2 weeks.
Couple weeks, yeah.
Couple weeks. So it'll be officially open then.
Great. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
presenting.
You're welcome.
Okay, there's another question?
Yes, so we've seen in the press recently that the State Fair has said that they will not be able to operate, or they would like to look for a new home. As a State Fair ribbon winner, I have concerns about that.
If you don't mind me asking, what did you?
I think that's out of order right now. What is the board doing to maintain our relationship with the State Fair, ensuring that the State Fair is here, and are you, as a board member, if the State Fair leaves us, is the board going to be open to having our own county fair so our children can have the same experience in competing? Because right now our kids really can't compete at the State Fair level because we don't have that county experience.
A couple of different things. So we are concerned as a board about that. We've had a lot of conversations about that at previous board meetings and continue to have meetings. We just I think 2 weeks ago, the State Fair Board met. This is the first time on our property, actually, and we were able to have some discussions with them. So they're now organized, as may or may not know. It's not up to the Metro Fair Board if the State Fair is at the State fair, the Metro Fairgrounds now, but we are in continual discussions, contractual discussions about having it this year, fully supportive and want to keep the state fair, although again, it's not in our on our purview and area of decision making. And then for the in terms of our Metro charter, we have to have I think it's a divisional fair is how it's written, so there'll be a fair of some type if the state fair pulls out. But of note, one of the state fair's main contention is not so much and they've been talking about this even before this discussion, it was of the realignment and the soccer fields and the new expo. It's more of they want a 250, 300 acre plot of land to do stuff, and we're only 100 plus, so it's only so much we can do.
But that's good to hear that y'all will be understanding that there's still the requirement to do a
Very
county
much so.
fair and go forth that way.
Okay, do I have any other comments or questions?
Move to approve.
Second. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Abstentions? Congratulations.
Caleb.
Thank you, Mr. Hammer. for your-
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy's website says what the blue ribbon is for, so you want to share or should I?
I'm sorry, I said what?
I got second place table runner in the state fair.
Oh, so that's where all of that came from.
It is on my website. I'm very proud of it.
So next,
Thank you, Councilman.
Fire and Building Code Appeals Board for the reappointment of Mr. Randy Clark for a term expiring on March the 1st, 2023. Would you please come up? How are you, sir?
Good, ma'am. How are you doing today?
I am fine. Sir, do you live in Davidson County?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you vote in Davidson County?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you belong on any other metro boards or commissions?
No,
Okay, well, would you mind answering some questions from some of my panel members?
not at all.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Mr. Clark, I think recent, development request from lots of development happening. So I think your board is really getting busier than usual.
Yes.
Could you talk about, increase of your hearing and so forth?
But I know this, if y'all see fit to appoint me, this will be my third term on the board. I know my first term, most meetings we had 3, 4, on a busy day, maybe 5, things that would come before us and everything. Now it's averaging anywhere from 10 to 12. The biggest thing I've noticed since I've sat on the board is as we get more development in town and everything, a lot of these developers try to encroach on a lot of the, try to fudge a lot of the rules as far as firefighters are concerned. Their ability to get into buildings, around buildings, be able to get to the water, whatever. And that's one of the biggest things I think that I'm seeing more and more of as we keep growing. We're getting so, we're building on every vacant corner, and if we're not, we're tearing a building down to build on one. So it just seems like these developers are trying to fudge more and more on some of the rules and stuff. And that's why I think this board is so important, especially for the firefighters and a lot of ADA. We have a lot of ADA cases come in front of us too. So.
Yeah, I do appreciate, several cases you disapprove those requests, and it's so encouraging. I really appreciate your service.
I'm a big proponent of the firefighters and their safety because they have a very dangerous job. So I tend, if they see something they don't like, I tend not to like it either.
Move to
Other
approve.
questions? Second.
It has been moved and seconded for the approval of reappointment of Mr. Randy Clark. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Abstentions? Well, sir, congratulations.
Thank you, ladies, gentlemen.
Thank
It's an honor.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have the Nashville Education, Community, and Arts. And we have, I'm going to ask both. Shonalyn. Okay. Branmere?
Meyer.
Meyer. Okay, kind of close. And, not really, but thank you.
We'll go with it.
And Ms. Emily Masters. I'm going to ask both of you to come up, please. And I have the same 3 questions for both of you. Do you live in Davidson County?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Do you vote here in Davidson County?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Do you belong on any other metro boards or commissions?
No.
Do you?
Don't.
Okay. Well, my committee members may have some questions or comments for you, so I would like to open it up now.
So why do you want to be on this board? Did you request this board, or was it requested of you?
It was requested of me, but I have known about the board for a while, and also of NESAC and what they do. So, NECAT, sorry, I keep saying it incorrectly. But I've known about it for a while and know what they do, and I know the director, so that was an easy thing for me to say yes.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, please. Will you?
I expressed an interest in being on a board or commission that had to do with the arts or education, specifically something to do with public school students, just sort of my different areas of interest and expertise. And then I was asked to serve on this board, and it pretty much ticks off every box of my interests.
So my question was a follow-up on yours. You said that you were asked, but you knew what they did. So talk to me about what it does, some that really interests you or that you really see yourself as being able to have some effect on that.
Sure. And to go back for a minute to Kathleen's, I did tell the mayor's office I was interested on a board, and they said, well, we have this, would you be interested? So just to clarify that. I think for me, a couple of things. I think public access to the community and arts is really important. So I grew up in Nashville and went to public schools, and everything that was an opportunity for me was through some of those very programs. So I think that's my foundation of that. But also in 2011, I had the opportunity to meet somebody that had a show on this network and was interviewed and participated in that, somebody that lives in Bellevue where I live. And so that's my basis of wanting to give back and being supportive of this specific board and what they do.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, I think we need to take these separately, if you don't mind. The reappointment of Ms. Shinalin?
Shonalyn Brandmeyer.
Yes.
Move to approve.
Okay. And the appointment of Mrs. Emily Masters.
Move to approve both.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and it's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Well, congratulations to both of you. Thank you so very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Now, Planning Commission for the reappointment of Ms. Lillian Blackshear to the term expiring on March the 31st, 2023. Ms. Blackshear, would you come up, please? How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Okay, I have my questions for you. Do you live in Davidson County?
Yes.
Okay, do you vote here in Davidson County?
Yes.
Do you belong on any other metro boards or commissions?
No.
Okay. Well, I'd like to open it up now for my council members. They may have some other questions or comments for you.
I would just move to approve.
I'll have a question. How long have you served on the Planning Commission board?
I filled Reverend Cummings' unexpired term, so that was 1 year, and then I served on a previous term, so I think a total of 5 years.
5 years.
So,
I would say one thing that I do have, and I've expressed this, and I hope we take this up as a rules committee and also as a charter committee, is that we have a growing, we see this a lot, of people being appointed to these boards that have conflicts of interest. And I know I've seen you recuse yourself on some of the things that are perceived to be a conflict, but I do believe in a city that's growing like ours, with the experience that we have and the talent we have in the city, that we don't have to have that issue even to come up, whether you recuse yourself or not. I think we have enough attorneys in this city, or people fitting a certain profile to serve on these commissions without it be in any gray area where people do not have to recuse themselves, because I know in a couple of things you've recused yourself that pertain to others, and that's one less vote. So with that being said, I do hope, and I've expressed this to the administration, that we look to put some people on the board that the community does not perceive have a conflict of interest, because that's been expressed with a lot of people that come through our committee that serve on these boards that are affiliated with law firms that lobby us, our organizations, real estate firms, architectural firms that we see legislation come through. So I will put that out there.
Okay. So since she asked that, did you have any comment or anything that you wanted to make?
Well, I'm
You don't have
certainly
to
respect
necessarily.
everything that she says. I mean, I guess I can explain the conflicts. I'm not a real estate developer. I don't practice real estate law, and I don't represent high net worth individuals. I personally don't have any conflicts, but if my firm is representing someone in a matter, even if it's not the actual matter that's coming before the planning commission, I just feel out of an abundance of cautions it's proper for me to recuse myself.
Okay. I think I have two other questions. Yes.
I was just going to comment that as a practicing lawyer, my sense is that different lawyers have different senses of what constitutes a conflict. There's some lawyers in town that, I'm exaggerating a little, have never seen a situation that they consider conflict. And then there's other folks that are allergic to them and stay far away. And my sense from watching the things at the Planning Commission is that Ms. Blackshear has been a lot closer to the hyper-cautious, which I've appreciated a lot. So thank you.
You had a
Yes, so I will say I requested your recusal rate. I requested it last week, and our staff, even though I requested it from the administration earlier, our staff got it to me, and I was surprised at how low it was. I think so often in everything we do up here in Metro countywide, perception's reality. And my thought process was, when she doesn't recuse herself, she asks amazing questions and has really good input. And so I really hate it when you have to recuse yourself, because I'm usually like, well, that would have been a vote for my neighbors, right? I'm like, she would have been on my side. And so I think the recusal rate that I got back was, it was like 15%. It was below 20%. And so I think a lot of times y'all are seeing a lot more cases than you were when you were first on this. And I think that you probably are being hyper vigilant, which is probably good, because again, perception's reality. But overall, could we roll our dice and take somebody, try to put somebody else on this board who doesn't have the experience with Nashville Next and things like that? Am I willing to do that for a 15% recusal rate? Not really. When I realized that it was only 15%, I'm like, oh, that's not bad. When you probably look at other people's absences and things like that, you probably equal out. So thank you for your ethicalness, right? And thank you for, when you don't have to recuse yourself, being the advocate that is fair and balanced. And so I appreciate that. And with that, I'd like to move for approval.
Well, I just have one more comment on the recusal rate. And I think it's good that they recuse themselves on things, and I've noticed that you've done that. And I think it's hard to talk about a recusal rate unless you look at the percentage of legislation that comes through the Planning Commission based upon the area, because it may be that the firm, or there's no perceived conflict of interest for the volume of things that come through your area. But then if you look at another area, you see a particular law firm may be involved indirectly, and you see a person recusing themselves more because that area has more things that come through the commission. So looking at a blanket rate is really not always telling the story. Looking at specific pieces of planning legislation that come through, it may be adversely impact for one area versus another. So I do think you do a good job. Don't get me wrong. I just pointed it out because I'm hearing a lot of feedback from people out in the community, and I know you are too, because you get the emails. And the perception that they have is really the reality, is that they're seeing a recycle of the same people come up, and the question they're asking is not really questioning your talent, your ability to do, and the job that you do, but they're saying, are there other people in this city that have the skills and ability to serve, or is just limited to this select few? And for that reason, I've asked the administration to start looking out and giving other people an opportunity to serve instead of the same few people that we see over and over again, and where we won't have a situation of people recusing themselves because they won't have an affiliation. So with that, I move for approval.
Okay, so it was already
Can I
one
echo that real
move.
quick?
There wasn't a second, though.
Second.
Yes? Okay, well,
So with that,
Quickly.
I think the administration has heard us on this
Yeah.
one. I think that the director of planning, hopefully y'all can start tracking things some more. But I think that this is something we need to do to all of our boards and commissions, because
Absolutely.
we are hearing more and more about other boards that have board members that just straight up don't show up.
Yes.
And we aren't being given their attendance rate. And so, yes, I'm out of scope and out of
Off
this
of
on
what we
planning.
are doing,
But I
yes.
think that it is something that is very relevant for this board that goes over boards and commissions, is that we need to be seeing people's attendance rates on their application when they're coming before us. And that's something that if I need to do legislatively, I hope you'll support me
well, I
on.
think it has been heard. So, one more, and
Yes,
then
I just want to
think.
make comment because your practice area is financial aid, and every time when you're at the board, you have really planning specific right on question. And I think many people who hear your question right on target really appreciate your service. Just want to retaliate.
Okay, Council Lady McDowell, I think you
It's not
moved.
McDowell, it's Dowell, and I've moved it. And I've known
And I
for
think I
I'd like
heard
to
a
agree.
second. I hear a second?
Yep.
Okay. All those,
Good to go.
okay, we need to take a vote. All those, aye. All those approve, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those who are not, please say nay. Any abstentions? Now, thank you so very much. Okay, why did I say?
I don't know.
I don't either. Okay. So the reappointment of Mr. Jeff Haynes for the term expiring on March 31st, 2023.
Good afternoon.
Hi there. We should have had both of you come up together, huh? So now you get the limelight all by yourself. Okay, so you're like, okay, you got a little sweat right there. Okay, so do you live in Davidson County?
I do.
Okay, do you vote here in Davidson County?
I do.
Do you belong on any other boards or commissions of Metro?
I do. I am the Planning Commission designee on the Parks Board.
Okay. So then how does that
That's allowed.
affect?
That's
Okay,
allowed.
That's allowed? Okay. So then I'm opening it up to my committee members.
Move to approve.
Second.
Question real quick.
Okay, so there is a question.
Mr. Haynes, how long have you been on the Planning Commission?
8 years.
8 years. Anything that surprised you about the Planning Commission so far?
How much work it is?
After 8 years or like throughout the 8
Has
years?
it gotten more and more? The meeting's a lot longer than they used to be.
It has become much more intense. It has.
Are y'all's meetings longer than these council meetings that we're about to have here?
We do meet extensively.
Okay, any other? Yes.
Yes. I really do appreciate your service. Like you said, Planning Commission, agenda getting longer and longer, and it's so hard. But perception is everything. It was said to your previous commission member, and you are doing great, development community, and you are doing lots of development. So therefore, there's some perception as a commissioner, you may approve everything, and any development deal. But looking at your voting record, you are, asking point out question and not necessarily approving every single development coming to you, front of you. So could you tell us what's the criteria for you to approve and disapprove of the certain development plan or zone change?
Yeah, I think it's a case-by-case situation. Each development is unique to our city. It's unique to the neighborhood. It's unique to the needs of the neighborhood. And so I try to weigh all of those needs in evaluating is it worth my vote for the planning commission.
And also you have to follow general plan, even though you may not feel particular lot, but if general plan and everything is suggest you have to follow maybe you have to put aside your feeling and have to follow those procedure.
I had the good fortune to spend 18 months to 2 years on Nashville Next, and so we certainly try to follow that wonderful document in our decisions.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'll just make a quick comment. I appreciate, the service that you do, but I will just, one more comment on that is that the Nashville Next plan, while it's a good guideline, it is a couple of years old now, and communities have changed because we are a fast-growing city. And so while it's necessary to look at a guide, I think it's also good to have, go out and look at the area and consider what's happening today, because things change in a year. And we had very little, from my perspective, engagement among some people in certain areas of the city with that Nashville Next plan, because it was a little rushed. But I just, ask that when we're looking at these, that we take that in consideration, that this is a fast-growing city and things have changed in the last couple of years. I know for Southeast Nashville, Antioch area. And I invite all of the Planning Commission to come out to Southeast and take a look, go out to North, take a look and see what's going on in the city when you're making a decision and using Nashville Next as a guideline. But thank you for your service.
Call for the question.
I'll call for a question.
It's
in the
called
board
for the
meeting
question.
Because we are discussing,
All
this is our time
those,
to discuss.
it has been moved and seconded. All those
I
in
would just
favor?
like-
It's been moved and seconded.
Okay.
Let me
No,
just
there's
get
a
point of
okay.
order.
It moves on.
No, but this is our opportunity to talk to these people and ask questions, and I think we need to
understand
be
that.
respectful
Yes.
of that. If Council
Thank
Lady
you.
Haywood has a question, then we should address it.
She was just getting ready to
If there's
finish
an
it.
objection, then
She
the
was just
question
getting ready
is
to
not
finish
called.
it.
I've always been interested in the comment that she just articulated, and I was wondering how you would respond to that if you would.
Well, certainly the planning staff will go out now and initiate updates. We do that, we ask them to do that. Unfortunately, the planning staff has limited resources, so the one thing you all can do as a city council is give Lucy and her team more resources to hire more people to do just this very thing. We can only accomplish so many updates with limited resources.
All right, are we ready now for the vote? Okay, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the approval of Mr. Jeff Haynes, please say aye.
Aye.
All those that are not, please say nay. Any abstentions? Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Free parking.
Can I have Mr. McGee come up, please? Okay, for Sports Authority, we have the appointment of Mr. Aaron McGee for the term expiring February the 17th, 2022.
I'm not sure.
Got a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
3 of them, actually. You live in Davidson County?
I do.
Do you vote here in Davidson County?
I do.
Do you belong on any other metro boards or commissions?
No.
Okay, then we're going to open it up for the committee members if they have any comments or questions. Yes, ma'am?
So it was brought to my attention that you filed paperwork or filed a treasurer to run for council.
Correct.
And so I wanted to, obviously, if you were running for council and were to be elected, then we would be appointing or filling this seat. And I know there's been some questions about people being on boards and commissions and running for council and da-da-da-da-da-da. I guess I don't know if I'm directly asking you, are you planning on running for council or not? But can you address the fact that you filed a treasurer and that you're here before us for an appointment?
So it's okay to go ahead and ask me the question. So it's for the
I was like, if you haven't made up your mind, but
No, so I filed papers to run for Metro Council. I don't remember what month it was, but at that time, my family and I were in agreement that I was going to run for Metro Council, and now at this time, my family and I are no longer in agreement.
You got a smart family.
I hear you. Yeah. So, all right then.
Other questions or comments?
Yeah, but
I have one
his
over here
wife
and over
is
here.
my other daughter. So,
You're here to
counsel-
make sure that he follows through. Okay.
Council Lady Dow, and then Council Lady Johnson?
I would say he would have my support if he ran. I would like to have him on the school board, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm going to get back on point on this, is that, again, and this is no disrespect to Aaron, because I think Aaron would be great on any board, but we just appointed Aaron to NECAT, seemed like to me, 2 weeks. Which one?
6 months ago, you all appointed me to the Community Education
Community
Commission.
education. I knew it was one of those. And I go back to, again, and this is not you, it's the city and the administration, and to me, not really reaching out to people and bringing in people to serve on these boards. There's no reason in a city with the talent that we have, and I saw that when we had those community oversight hearings. I looked at all those resumes, and I was shocked beyond belief at the talent we have in this city. There's zero reason, there's no reason at all why we're not tapping some of these people in this city and bringing them in to serve on these boards. There's no reason, no logical reason whatsoever that we continue to see the same people move from one board to another. We sit in here, we appoint you to a board, you say how much you love it, what you can contribute, and 6 months later, we're moving you to another one. I do not want to see, and I will vote against anybody else come through here in the next 5 months that's being matriculated from one board to another. And if you need some help, and I've offered this, and I've offered it to the last administration, identifying people who are qualified to serve in these roles, then you need to reach out to the council members, because all of us have people within our respective districts who are talented and can serve and are willing to serve and willing to show up, that we don't have to pluck people from one place to another. So with that being said, I do support Aaron, but I hope I don't see you back in 5 more months going to another board.
Yeah, and Councilwoman Dow, if I can address that. I do want to say that, first of all, I appreciate and I respect that. And in addition, I'm glad to have a council in a city that will allow us to serve in this capacity. But I do want to express interest that also, I said that my family's agenda has changed. And so I'm experiencing a professional transition, and so some of my interests have changed as well. And so I am excited about the opportunity to serve in this capacity and the national education capacity. Although two are both very relevant and important, I'm excited about this sports authority opportunity and what it means to our city, particularly with the venues that we have to manage and operate. So I respect what you're saying. I completely agree, and I know a lot of talented people that deserve to come before you all, too.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, but Ms. Johnson.
Oh, sure. No, it's just the executive director, I'm just not as familiar with the sports authority as I should be. Y'all are separated into districts throughout the county, is that correct?
Yes, the appointments are made by school board districts and senatorial.
Okay, and how many do y'all actually have? Is it 9?
13.
13, okay. I just want to know, I didn't know exactly. Someone had told me that, and I didn't know, and you live down in the Antioch?
District 6.
Antioch area?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I didn't know. Thank you.
So my question is, your previous board, community education, and this is sports authority. So what is your goal to, want to accomplish in this particular board and commission?
Yeah, so it's been put on the floor that there was a point where I intended on running for Metro Council. First of all, this is an opportunity to have an up-close and personal aspect as to how Metro government works from the vantage point in the playing field of the Sports Authority, from the management of our facilities, the renegotiation of contracts. We have the soccer field coming, the Predators contract is coming up. It's a great opportunity to get a closer insight as to how the budget is managed. And so I'm excited about that. And then I also get to bring my governing fiduciary mindset, prowess, and responsibilities to this board as well.
Thank you. Any other?
Move to approve.
Second. It has been moved and seconded for the approval of Mr. Aaron McGee. All those in favor of approval, please say aye.
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 All those against, please say nay. Any abstentions? Well, sir, congratulations.
Thank you, Councilwoman Dow. I have all the respect for you. We're going to miss you.
Oh, I'm not going anywhere.
In this capacity.
I won't be here.
He wants a ticket, yeah. Validation.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, would you come up, please?
Confirmation.
service.
Thank you very much.
So
I'll bring
many
it along,
too. I'm excited about this.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
True. No, I'm just saying, I want you to get on it.
Transportation Licensing Commission. The appointment of Mr. Kerry Rogers for the term expiring on October the 20th, 2019. He will actually be filling the unexpired term of Sarah Lingo. So, sir,
Yes.
I have 3 exactly. Questions for you. Do you live here in Davidson County?
Yes, I do.
Are you a voter here in Davidson County?
Yes.
Do you belong on any other metro boards and commissions?
No, I do.
Okay. I'd like to open it up now for my council members. I have over here Councilman Roden and Councilman Johnson.
So, for the record, I was legislative counsel at TennCare for about 7 years, and my office was right next to his office. And this gentleman right here, if you want to know what he did for a long time, he did all the fiscal notes for TennCare for the legislation. So if you wonder,
Wow.
those big fiscal notes that sometimes reached over $1 billion and $2 billion, he was the one that had to sit there and calculate whether the federal and the state and how much it was going to cost us. So he does quite a good job at
So are
putting
you
money.
going to calculate our stop signs now?
Now, I was going to say, after he would do that, though, he would pull out his Tour de France magazines, or he would watch those on the
Okay,
computer.
so I think Council Lady Johnson had a question. Council Lady?
Mr. Rogers, I understand you used to serve on the exact same commission, and
back
that
in
was
there,
prior, tavern and horse carriage and scooters and Lyft and Uber and, all
A
kind
lot
of
of
things.
things, yes.
Are you sure you want to come back?
Mr. Fields talked me into this, and I noticed it's a very short-term appointment, so I can make a decision in the fall.
Fair enough.
Because I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very interesting summer with a few thousand scooters around Nashville. I think we're all going to be challenged by that.
Other?
I actually, I'm sorry, Billy, you might know this. I saw a man riding what appeared to be a scooter without handles. It was something that he, it looked maybe kind of like a briefcase that he stood on, but there were no handles or anything. It wasn't like one of those hover-rounds or whatever.
I actually saw the same person.
I have a picture.
It's some sort of it's not a hoverboard, but it's in that range. It's not something we license because it's not for hire, but I think I know the person.
We're not going to start seeing those on our corners.
Not that I'm aware of. You haven't authorized those.
Okay,
so.
any other questions for Mr. Rogers?
Move to approve.
Second. Okay. All those in favor for approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against, please say nay. Any abstentions? All right, sir, short term, you got it.
Thanks a lot.
We'll see you in the fall.
Thank you for your service.
Maybe.
Thanks for that pressure.
You're kidding.
Okay. Mike in here, I understand the next one is deferred.
What have you heard?
One of the 3.
One of the 3?
Yes.
Okay. So may I have Ms.
Motion.
Davis and
Do you want to do a motion on
Motion
that?
to defer.
to defer that one particular one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Deferred indefinitely?
I think is it one meeting or
One meeting deferral.
One meeting deferral? One meeting, okay.
move for one meeting deferral?
Second.
And this is of Mr. Toby Compton.
Right.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Now may I have Ms. Davis and Mr. Pepper come forward, please? For the Zoning Appeals Board, the appointment of Ms. Shananti, I know that, yeah, Ashanti. For the term expiring February the 26th, 2024, and the reappointment of Mr. J. Ross Pepper for a term expiring February 26th, 2024. Sir, do you live in Davidson County?
I do.
Do you live in Davidson County?
Yes.
Are you a voter here in Davidson County?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a voter here in Davidson County?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you belong on any other metro boards or commissions?
No.
Do you belong on any other Metro boards or commissions?
No.
Okay, ready or not, we got some questions or some comments for you. So I'm opening it up to my council members. Yes, sir?
Mr. Pepper, you were in front of us just a few months ago, I believe that was correct. And
I think about 3 or 4 months ago.
3 or 4
yes.
months. Does it feel like longer or shorter?
It feels shorter.
Well, that's good.
It's gone fast.
So can you tell us so far, you've been on it for 3 or 4 months, kind of what your opinion is of the board and how you see it operating, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, or kind of what we need to know about
Sure.
how it's working?
I think it's operated very, very well. I think we're going to miss Mr. Ewing leaving. For sure. I've learned a lot from him, although I will now be the tallest person on the committee. I think it's working very well. The dockets have been very long. There's a lot, which is obviously a product of where we are as a city, but I think it's working very well. I think we have a really good mix of different people from different backgrounds, and I think that works really well for the benefit of the board and the public. So,
Is the board, is it pretty diverse as far as not just diversity on the board, but geographically throughout the county?
pretty much it is, yeah. It could be a little bit more diverse. I think Alma's from Antioch. Well, probably most of us are from West Nashville. I believe you're from East Nashville. Okay, so it'll be more diverse in terms of geographically.
Other questions, comments? Okay, I think I saw yours first. I just noticed hers first because she went like this.
I'll make it snappy. I know both of our appointees and from my law world, and I think they're both great, and really looking forward to having you guys serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam?
So, since you're new and have not heard my soapbox that the Board of Zoning Appeals, in my opinion, is not the Board of Forgiveness. As David Ewing says it along with me and quoted me in his farewell speech, I feel what I have seen, I've actually spent more time at BZA than planning. And a lot of times these applicants come in and it is very weak reasons for these variances. And by law, there's a list of how you can or cannot grant a variance. And it concerns me when, for example, jumping rats was enough of a variance to grant a higher opaque fence close to the property line and so on and so forth. We can get into rats some other time, but I mean, that was just an example. So my request for you is to just be aware of that, and those kind of situations, and really be aware of the law, because I think we've made ourselves vulnerable in some cases. And then also kind of both y'all last meeting, I pleaded that y'all throw the book at a sidewalk request variance who requested to pay nothing at all. And I believe it was granted to pay nothing at all. And the thing is if we just continue to let people get away with paying half of what they should according to what we've passed, according to the ordinance that we've passed, or get away with not paying anything because they're fortunate enough to have a parcel that has a sidewalk, whereas I live somewhere that I don't have a sidewalk, but I gotta pay into it, but our taxpayer dollars have already paid for theirs. Where's the fairness there, and where's the equity there, and that type of thing. And so I just really impress upon the both of y'all to keep that in mind, that some people are able to buy pieces of property in certain areas of town that have been blessed with sidewalks, and not everybody can afford that. So that's my soapbox, and I'll pass it on.
Other questions? Oh, okay. I'm gonna start this end, and then I'm gonna go here, only because I didn't see.
I just have two potential recommendations for the board to consider. I know your meetings are running long with all the short-term rental type things that are coming up, that perhaps that you could get together and consider maybe splitting those off from the other exceptions to variance type legislation that come through there, because when you get put on the docket, I know I sat down there for about 6 hours behind all of those people with violations operating their short-term rental. So it may be a way of better leveraging those things that can go through pretty quickly with those that take a little bit longer. And the other thing I will say is that while she talks about forgiveness, like not being forgiveness, I think they've forgiven a whole lot with regard to some areas. And we have established zoning practices like overlays and things of those natures in certain areas of the city that when we pass that legislation with different property owners, we expect it to be enforced. And I've noticed that certain people own the BZA, and we're starting to clean house on that BZA, so I'm very excited to see more community-oriented people who are going to not be biased and follow the rules and to, and apply them equally across the county, because I do see sometimes some overlays are, they kind of forgive them and let them do certain things with it and grant variances, where other ones they are very strict on. So I would like to see more equity with regard to that, and also I would hope that the board dynamics now, that you're all able to work together and we don't let certain strong personalities, take over all the talking and the leadership of the board and direct the conversation in a way that, favors one over the other. So consider the short-term rental, maybe split it up so it doesn't last so long, and looking at your decision-making and making sure that it's equity across the county for everyone.
Okay? Yes.
So I think the function as a board zoning appeal is criteria to accept the variance. So the question to Mr. Pepper is, when you started, did you get enough education or orientation to how you're supposed to grant criteria? And another question to Ms. Davis is, do you expect those guidelines to be provided to you before you serve BZA? What is your expectation? So same thing, but two different questions.
You want me to start? Okay. Yes, I was the staff at Coe's briefed me, Mr. Herbert, John Michael, and Emily Lamb. We had probably a 2-hour meeting. It was very helpful, and they gave me some materials. I will tell you though, it's hard to look. It's until you get in there and you're doing it. It's you can read it, but it takes some experience before you actually hear those cases before it starts falling into place. But they did a very good job of letting me know what I was getting into and educating me.
That's great.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No,
Please,
please.
no.
No, I had the same meeting with Emily Lamb and John Michael last Friday, and it was a very helpful orientation. They gave me all the materials, the zoning code, the rules, and then there's a training, I think, scheduled for next week for all of us. So I think that'll also be helpful in sort of level setting what the expectations are. I agree.
I just think it's interesting because just like, I'm a retired teacher, and when I did my student teaching, I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go. I got all of this. We did that for a while, but once I was thrown into the classroom, it was totally different, and you have to get experience that way. So it's just a conduit, and I'm just really impressed, and I love watching John.
Move to approve, both.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of appointing Ms. Davis, and because one is an appointment and one is a reappointment, I'm going to do them separately. The appointment of Ms. Davis, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, say nay. Abstentions? Okay. All those, we have to do another motion?
Move to approve.
Second. All those, it has been moved and seconded. All of those in favor of the reappointment of Mr. Pepper, please say aye.
Aye.
Any not, please say nay. Abstentions? All right. Yay! Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
We have,
Thank you for serving some more.
and we have one more item. Excuse me. We have one more item that we have to do in a hurry, and that is a late file by Mr. Glover. And would you please come up forward and talk to us about that?
Sure. Okay, so basically what this is doing, it's non-binding. We have no authority with the school board. I'm not pretending like we do, but because I was on the school board, I will tell you right now it's not the time to be creating the turmoil that's out there. They're heading into testing. And so this is really a critical time of the year. The next thing you're going to see is as soon as they finish that, then everybody goes into graduation. And people are going to be kind of zoning out. They need to be looking at how do they plan ahead and how do they move forward. The state clearly has something that they're dealing with, and we don't have a conclusion on that. So all we're really doing and all I'm doing with this is just saying, hey, everybody, take a breath, back up, and let's let the state follow their course of action and determine what is what. It's non-binding. I certainly don't anticipate that it is. But if we can get people to slow down and just try to figure out what's going on, I'm not saying there's ever a good time to necessarily, let a director go. I've done it. I've been there. But right now, this particular time of the year is a pretty critical time. So anyway, that's the one reason that I did it. The reason it's late filed is because, things didn't happen till early mid last week. And so that's why, or else, if I'd have been able to see into the future and known what they've been looking at, they wouldn't have been late filed. But that's kind of the only option we've got.
So this committee is just saying whether they're okay with the late file or not. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's correct.
Okay. So is that something we just want to say whether we agree to permit it late filed instead of voting one?
And
Go ahead, please.
I just saw it, yesterday afternoon. I'm not in favor of this resolution. I think I appreciate the spirit in which it's offered, but there's already all sorts of dynamics at play. School board's meeting right now. I think that the trigger of the state doing something or not doing something is going to alter whatever negotiations are going on. I think that's the wrong trigger, and I think that we should stay out of the negotiations. And so I would prefer that this not go forward, and will likely object to being heard late filed. But I've talked to nobody about it. It just strikes me as while I appreciate the motivation behind it, it feels like everybody is adequate, all the sides are adequately represented. There is some negotiation going on right now, and I wouldn't want us to put a finger on one side or the other of that negotiation. It could be that there's a negotiation that pays Dr. Joseph that is agreed upon shortly, that doesn't need to wait for this, and I feel like passing this might, we were not even sure which side of the balance we'd be putting our finger on, so I'd rather just have it play out.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have a mixed feeling on this resolution as well. I do understand, the reason for the late file. I support that reason alone. But as far as, a body of the resolution, I'd rather have school board do their job without us not, having entire fact. So I'd rather give them 100% too without us interjecting. So for that, I do have kind of mixed feeling supporting the resolution itself. But late filing, I totally understand the reason.
Yes.
I have mixed emotions about it, as likewise. But it was brought to my attention. Someone asked me when Ms. Shepherd engaged the community, the teachers, to come in with the hoods on or with the mask. And
It was a Mrs. Sparing.
Miss Faring. Yeah, Miss Faring. Thank you for that correction. I receive it. And I remember being in the committee meeting, and it was said that we thought it was best for us to stay out of the school board business. So it was brought to my attention at that time, if it were best to stay out of their business, why is it not best at this time? So If you could speak to that.
Well, I mean, I guess because I have a perspective on this, that, and I'm not being rude, that nobody else sitting in this room has, because I've been on that board. I've been exactly where they are right now. And I'm going to tell you, again, there's not a good time to do this. And there are a lot of emotions that are flying all over the place. I certainly make no bones about the fact that this carries no weight. Be very clear. The board has the final say, the only say in this. I certainly am not pretending that they do not. I'm asking people to take a breath and just sit down for a little bit of time here to let things kind of play out. If they don't want to do it, they want to ignore it, that's fine. If we don't want to pass it, that's fine. But because I have been on that board, and because I do understand where we are right now, and because frankly, I think 86,000 reasons for doing this came to my mind, that's why I did it. To sit there and simply say, I think it just sends a message to ask people to calm down. Yep.
Okay, so very quickly, because time is almost.
Yep, we're done.
Councilman Mendez, and then.
I'll be quick. And I do appreciate the school board perspective. My perspective, representing the whole county, is Council Lady Haywood's point about, like, we didn't take a position when the thing was in meltdown over the last couple months. Some of us have taken a position individually when it's been in meltdown over the last couple months, and the idea that we would jump in now after the core has gone through the bottom of the reactor, it runs the risk of conveying that we're before didn't matter, now does matter, and that's one of the reasons I think from the perspective of sitting with different parts of the county at different times over the last several months, I don't think on balance us injecting ourselves is the right thing.
Okay.
And then real quick, I always appreciate Steve's opinion. I always listen to him. Steve, as y'all know, Steve is out from out part of the county.
We're sorry.
Steve's a good guy.
Continue.
But school board member Shepherd is also from my part of the county, and she's the one taking action. She's our elected school board member. I wouldn't want to do anything or take any action that would jump in front of her on what she's doing on the school board. I always try to stay out of school issues. If I'm asked about it, I'll give my opinion, but I never try to get in front of Anna and what she's doing on the school board. She has all the facts. And I'll just, I understand what Steve's trying to do, and I don't necessarily disagree with him 100%, but I think Anna has all the facts. She's been there for the, past years, and I'll let her take her actions. And I would rather not see this go forward tonight, and see where they come down over the next few weeks or months, and see where it is.
But I'm just saying this real quick. I did talk with her. She called me, and I did talk with her.
Okay, so we aren't really voting on the measure of this particular thing. What we are saying is if we agree or do not agree with the late file. What I think I'm hearing is that we do not agree with the late file.
It can come back to the next meeting, correct?
As a community, as a committee, is that what we want to say, that we disapprove of the late file?
That would be my choice.
Yes.
I think that is it.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there any more issues to come before this committee? Is there a second?
So moved.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All those against? We are now adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.